Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Warrior Within. I'm your host, Jaime Bennett. Today's topic is very near and dear to my heart. There is sensitive subject matter and terminology in today's program, and because of that, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The opinions in today's program are my opinions and my opinions only. They do not represent the opinions of anyone else. Excuse me. This is my personal experience with today's topic. I'm going to be talking about the HIV/AIDS residence home located in New Orleans. It holds about 23 residents at a time. I'm going to be talking about Project Lazarus. First, let's give a brief history of how Project Lazarus of New Orleans came about. In the early 80s, HIV and AIDS was running rampant in New Orleans. And because it was found mostly in the homosexual male population, it was given the poor title of the gay plague, gay cancer. The disease was highly dismissed because homosexual men were seen as dispensable. People were dying of AIDS, and they had no place to go. Something needed to be done. The founder of Project Lazarus, Father Robert Powell, came to from Chicago to New Orleans in 1976 with the mission of having the church to help with the alienated population of New Orleans, the part of society that was being ignored. People did not need to die alone and uncared for. Project Lazarus started with one resident named Robert, and he was a homeless gentleman, and Father Powell found out that he was going to be released from a charity hospital with no place to go. Father Powell took him back to the guest room at, what is now known as Project Lazarus, and paid for his medical expenses and cared for him and gave him food and board. And after that point, Project Lazarus was born. I got the honor and privilege of becoming a volunteer at Project Lazarus with my university, Quincy University. We went on a mission trip to New Orleans to Project Lazarus in 2004. I am very thankful for that experience. It taught me a lot. We rode the church, like the ministry bus, the college ministry, because I went to a Catholic university. And we rode the college ministry bus 13 hours from Quincy, Illinois, all the way to New Orleans to volunteer at Project Lazarus. We were mostly going to be spending time with the residents, having conversations with the residents, getting to know the residents, playing, board games with the residents, anything that they wanted to do to pass time. And we also would clean up the grounds at Project Lazarus. We weren't the only university that was there. There was another university, a group of students that were there volunteering at the same time. I was very intimidated by going to Project Lazarus and dealing with something that I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about HIV. And, when we got there, when we arrived, we were greeted by one of the staff members, and they trained us and educated us on HIV and AIDS. And, my mom and dad were very scared for me to volunteer in a situation like this because they didn't know much about HIV or AIDS themselves. So we got educated, the volunteers were educated in how HIV and AIDS worked. And then also they had separate restroom quarters, for the residents from the staff and volunteers. So, that kind of brought comfort to my mind, especially not knowing anything about HIV or AIDS at the time. You cannot get HIV from shaking somebody's hand. You cannot get HIV from hugging somebody, from sharing a conversation with somebody who has HIV. You can't get HIV from like eating off the same plate as somebody who has HIV. There has to be the right circumstance in order for you to catch HIV. It's not like a common cold. It's not easy to catch. It has to be the right circumstance in order to catch HIV. And, people who have HIV have a lot of stigma placed on them in society. They think that true, most of the population in the 80s and most of the population now may be homosexual men. But that's not true in every case with HIV. And that stigma does not need to be placed on HIV at all. Like, some people got HIV through blood transfusions. They weren't always great with filtering the blood and checking the blood. They've gotten way better now. Like, the medical world has progressed. And, they have gotten a lot better with being educated with HIV. They've gotten a lot better with the medications for HIV. But the stigma does not need to be placed on people who have HIV. You don't need to be scared of somebody who has HIV. You don't need to run away from them. They're human beings too, and they have a right to live life just like everybody else. I was very thankful that I got to volunteer at Project Lazarus. That was a wonderful experience. It opened my eyes and it made me more humble. You know, seeing all sorts of walks of life, different stages. There were some people that had AIDS at Project Lazarus and they were trying to recover and get better. Project Lazarus is a place for people to go to get healthier and stronger and not have to worry about, living around people who don't understand HIV. They're cared for, they're taken care of by people who care about them and understand HIV. I've seen all sorts of people there, I've seen, all walks of life there, many stages of, HIV. So, like, it's not just homosexual men who get HIV, it is other people too. Um, the biggest thing that bothers me is the stigma that's placed on HIV. They think that just because somebody has HIV, they can't hold down a job. They can. They're allowed to hold down a job. And I don't know about other states, but I know, when I lived in Illinois, because that's where I'm from, people who have HIV are allowed to work in the food industry. They're allowed to prepare your food. And it wouldn't bother me to have somebody who has HIV to prepare my food because I understand it. People need to educate themselves on things that they don't understand. And that way, they're not placing a stigma on something that they don't understand. Project Lazarus is, a wonderful place. It's a meditative place for people who get lost in society because they have HIV or AIDS. It's a wonderful place for them to go, for them to recuperate and not have to stress out about things, not have to worry about society judging them or, they just don't have to worry about their medical care. They're cared for. at Project Lazarus. It's a very important place to be. And, they do accept volunteers. You can go to their website, Project Lazarus, and you can fill out volunteer paperwork. And they do accept volunteers. It's a great place to volunteer. I absolutely adored every minute of it. They are taking measures, like COVID wasn't around whenever I went to Project Lazarus. I went there in 2004. So, a lot of things have happened between 2004 and now. But they are taking huge measures because of COVID. People who have HIVs, immune systems are already compromised. And COVID, kind of attacks the people that have compromised immune systems. So you're probably wondering what measures Project Lazarus is taking. They have the 5G network, and that has really, really helped them with the residents being able to go to the computer and have a video chat with their doctors so that they can keep up to date on their medications, on their symptoms, on how they're feeling, if the doctor needs to up their medication. It's being taken care of properly, and they don't have to worry about going out in the world and possibly contracting COVID on top of HIV, because like I said, their immune systems are compromised, and it's a scary thing. COVID's scary alone. Can you imagine having a compromised immune system on top of it? I went there pre-Hurricane Katrina. And, I kept in contact with the father from our university who took us to Project Lazarus, who spent time there at Project Lazarus before he transferred to our university and became the father at our university. I asked him, who all was affected by Hurricane Katrina, because, I got to know these people. I got to become friends with these people, and I was worried, what effects it had. And he told me that, quite a few people, none of the people that I had met, but quite a few people that they knew had died in the Hurricane Katrina. And that's really awful. That is really, really awful. I know somebody personally who has HIV, and they've been living with it for over 10 years, and they have faced a lot of problems in society. That whole stigma thing has been happening with them. They have lost jobs because of HIV. They have been judged horribly because of HIV, and they have had a really hard time in life because of HIV. So not only do they have to worry about their compromised immune system and getting sick, and they had gotten sick several times during the course of having HIV, they have to worry about an income and not being able to maintain a job. And that's really, really sad. This person is perfectly capable of doing the work, and they're being judged and let go from a job because of HIV. They have been trying to get help, an income going. They've had to move in with family members. They've had a really rough time with, having this HIV. They have to worry about COVID now. Like I said, that's a new thing that's been placed on top of it. They have to worry about getting COVID with, them having a compromised immune system. It's really, really scary. This person, got HIV from leaving their drink unsupervised at a party, I'm guessing, and they woke up at a stranger's home. and did not know where they were at. They woke up, and something had been done to them. They were taken advantage of because their drink had gotten a roofie put into it, and therefore they passed out, ended up in a stranger's home. The stranger took advantage of them, and they ended up catching HIV. It's really, really scary. You got to take precautions. You got to be really careful about even setting drinks down. It's a really scary thing. There is no cure for HIV. The medicine world, the medical world, has come a long way since even 10 years ago. But there is no cure for HIV as of yet. Hopefully, in the near future, I hope and pray with my whole heart that they find a cure for HIV. But right now, there's no cure for HIV. There is medications that people who have HIV can take, and it makes the HIV not, you can't find it in their bloodstream. There's no evidence of HIV in their bloodstream. So what that means is they can carry on like normal relationships and a normal life and not have the fear of transmitting HIV from themselves to someone else. But they still need to take safety precautions. Precautions still need to be made. To give statistics to HIV and to give you an idea of HIV and AIDS, of how many people it has affected, it has affected more than 33 million people have died of HIV since the start of the global pandemic. In the United States, there have been more than 700,000 adults and children who have died of HIV-related complications like pneumonia. They have a compromised immune system. It's easier for them to get pneumonia and get sick. They have died from the, HIV-related complications since the start of the epidemic in 1981. As of today, more than 1.2 million people are living with HIV in the United States. That's a lot. Think about that number. That is a lot. With more than 35,000 new infections occurring each year. To give you all an idea, let's compare HIV deaths to the deaths of the recent pandemic of COVID. There have been 809,389 people to lose their lives in the United States due to COVID. That is just the statistics from 2020 to 2021. So not only do the people living with HIV have to worry about the effect that HIV has on them, they now have to worry about COVID and the fact that they already have a compromised immune system. So, I know that the person that I know personally who has HIV, I'm not telling you to get the vaccine. I'm not telling you not to get the COVID vaccine, but I know personally they got the vaccine. And what that does is it helps boost their already compromised immune system so that they have a fighting chance, if they get COVID, of surviving it. Like I said, there has been a lot of stigmas placed on HIV that should not be placed there. I'm thankful that I got to volunteer at Project Lazarus. It is something that has had a profound impact on my life, and it will have a profound impact on my life for years to come. It's something that I can tell my daughter about. It's something that I can talk to my grandchildren about whenever, I get grandchildren in the future. It's a wonderful thing to do. And if you can't volunteer at Project Lazarus, volunteer at other places or donate to Project Lazarus. They accept donations. Um, I'm very, very thankful that I got to go there and that I got to know some of the people at Project Lazarus. And they are not HIV. They should not be defined by HIV. They're human beings who are capable of doing things that you and I can do. Like, they should not have judgment placed harshly upon them. Um, I got to know quite a few people at Project Lazarus. There was one lady who started off at Project Lazarus very, very ill, and she went there to recuperate, and she got better, and she moved out of Project Lazarus, but she would come back and visit all the time, and I really adored talking to her. She was a very interesting person. I loved hearing the stories that she had to talk about. There was another gentleman at Project Lazarus that I sat down at the table with while he was eating crawfish, and he offered me some crawfish, and I wish I would have taken him up on the offer, but I had just gotten back from lunch, and I told him, man, I wish hadn't already ate anything because I would totally take you up on that offer. He was a very interesting person. I enjoyed his company and I enjoyed spending time with him. There was another gentleman that was at Project Lazarus that was a photographer. He was an amazing photographer, and it was so interesting to hear about, all the places that he had been to do his photography. And it was going to be his birthday soon, and he offered, you know invited us to come to his birthday party that was going to be happening at his mom's house. Unfortunately, I didn't make it, but my friend went there and represented our university, and he said that it was awesome. The food was great and it was wonderful. Should not place stigmas on people who have HIV, especially if you don't understand it, if you don't understand how you can contract it. Like I tell people, your skin is your best barrier. It takes the right circumstances in order for you to catch HIV. And, you know, as long as you don't have any open wounds in your skin, as long as you don't have any cuts in your skin, you could get blood on your skin, and that blood could have HIV in it. And as long as you don't have any cuts or open wounds, you're not going to get it. Your skin is your best defense and best barrier. Take safety precautions. Don't, take your life for granted. Take safety precautions. Take every measure you can not to catch something like that. Um, but definitely don't be mean to somebody who has HIV. Don't, ignore them. If they want to shake your hand, shake their hand. You're not going to get it. You're going to be fine. If they want to hug them. You're going to be fine. It's going to be perfectly fine, and you're not going to get it. I loved being there and talking to the residents of Project Lazarus, and I enjoyed the staff members too. They really, really care about the residents there. They know what they're doing, and the residents there are well taken care of. It's a wonderful place, and I'm glad that Father Powell started Project Lazarus. He has helped many, many, many lives because of Project Lazarus. There are people that went there with AIDS and were very, very sick and recuperated, got better, got stronger. And now they come back there and they volunteer there, and they may even work there. They may be a staff member. And I think that is wonderful. It's wonderful that, Project Lazarus can do something like that for somebody who didn't have any other place to go, didn't have anybody else to care for them. Um, Project Lazarus, they do lots and lots of good for the community, and they take donations, like I said, but they also have a Halloween celebration. I don't know if that still goes on because of COVID and recent events, but they have a Halloween party, and that's how they're able to bring in a lot of their donations because this Halloween party is very, very popular in New Orleans. And I'm glad that they're able to bring in donations like that because Project Lazarus needs to be kept open. It has done a lot of good for a lot of people. I respect Project Lazarus. I respect what they're doing. I respect that they've helped that many people. It is a wonderful place to be. And like I said many times, I have enjoyed my time there. I'm very thankful that I got that opportunity. I went on that trip just getting out of a horrible relationship, an abusive relationship. And I thought, well, what's the best way to get through this trauma in my life other than helping somebody else who needs help? And, it opened my eyes up. You know, I wasn't so worried about my problems when I went there. I was seeing how those people were and what they were going through in their life and the trauma and turmoil and issues that they have to face in life because of having HIV. There was a resident there when we were there who was in a wheelchair and she had gotten mugged in New Orleans and her wheelchair was completely destroyed. She was beat up and that's terrible. That's awful. So not only did she have to worry about, her belongings that got stolen from her, but her recuperating from being beat up, you know, it's not easy for them to bounce back from something because of their compromised immune system, because they're weak, and sometimes they're weak and they're not feeling well. And there's good days and bad days. So, I hope that this broadcast has kind of opened your eyes to, HIV and AIDS and, like the people who have it. I hope that, that you don't place stigma on people who have HIV. I hope that you don't judge somebody for having HIV. I hope that you can treat them just like everybody else because that's how they deserve to be treated. They don't deserve to be treated poorly because they have this. I really appreciate you all watching today's program. I hope that it was educational. I hope that it was interesting. And I haven't done too many of these shows yet. And like I always say, I will get better. I will stutter less in the future. And I really appreciate you all tuning in. If you have any opinions, please share them. Share your opinions just as long as they're nice opinions, kind opinions. And thank you very much for watching today's program. As always, love, hugs, and blessings. Have a great night.